England took the lead. New Zealand hit back in the most dramatic fashion imaginable. Ireland named the squad and are back on the world stage. And the T20 World Cup is now just 18 days away. The T20I leg of New Zealand's England tour got underway in Derby last week, and England wasted no time reminding the world they are the hosts to beat this summer. While Lauren Bell continued her usual brilliance, it was good to see Lindsay Smith at her miserly best in the power play. Conceding just 2 runs off her 2 power play overs, it included a maiden as well. In fact, 3 of the last 5 maidens delivered by an English woman in T20Is have been bowled by Smith. She constantly kept getting the ball to drift from well outside the off stump into the middle stump, and she was accurate to say the least. Sophie Devine then scored a flurry of bounties and put on a bright 45 of 22 balls to give the tourists some much needed momentum, but the White Ferns never really built the partnerships they needed. England's bowlers were tanked and disciplined throughout. A special mention to Izzy Sharp, who was promoted above Susie Bates. She looked really good with her ability to clear the boundaries and complements Brooke Halliday and Maddie Green really well to build a solid engine room for her side. Also, the move all but confirms that Susie Bates is playing primarily as an off-bowling all-rounder who would give some batting at number 8 and number 9. Then came the chase, and this is where Alice Capsey announced herself. Playing at the top of the order in an unfamiliar opening role, Capsey was magnificent. She cut, she drove, she muscled the ball over the rope, finishing with 74 not out of 51 balls, including 3 sixes and 7 fours. She shared a half-century stand with Freya Kim, who was the perfect foil, chipping an unbeaten 31 of 20 deliveries. Knowing that they were chasing a low total, she ensured that she held one end up while constantly ticking the scoreboard. Post her 50, she scored her last 24 runs of just 7 balls to end the chase with 16 balls to spare. Capsey was named player of the match, and this innings also became her highest ever T20I score, going past her 67 against New Zealand 2 years ago. If she keeps batting like this at the top, England have a serious weapon, also a serious selection problem to deal with. If Danny Whitehodge and Nat Sciver-Brunt come back to claim the position, it'll be interesting to see if Capsey goes back to her usual role down the order, or does Lottie look to give her a go at the World Cup. Anyways, the defending T20 world champions would emphatically prove they still had plenty in the tank 3 days later. They challenged themselves by opting to bat first after winning the toss. In extremely bowler-friendly conditions, Lindsay Smith continued her brilliant form, taking 3 wickets in her first 2 overs. Her delivery to dismiss Meelika LBW was stuff of dreams. She not only got the ball to drift in, but also seam in further off the surface. A ball Kirk could only have hoped to get an underedge or miss the stumps completely. At 11 for 4 inside the first 4 overs, you could already see England fans thinking that this series was done and dusted. But the stand-in skipper Charlie Dean decided to replace an on-song Smith with Izzy Wong for the 6th over, a move that raised eyebrows. One could argue that bringing in Wong just eased the pressure on Maddie Green and Sophie Devine, and they never really looked back again. The 37-year-old legend simply refused to let her side collapse. She walked out and proceeded to play one of the great T20 rescue acts women's cricket has ever seen. Devine was joined by Maddie Green, and together they built a partnership of 159 for the 5th wicket. That partnership is now the highest stand for any wicket against England in women's T20Is, breaking a 21-year-old record that had stood since the second ever T20I. Devine hit 87 of 57 balls, 6 sixes, 4 fours, and was finally run out of the very last ball of the innings, while Green ended unbeaten on 56. New Zealand finished on 170 for 5. Devine's knock was interesting. She started off really aggressively to remain unbeaten at 40 after 28 balls, and then as she inched closer to her 50, her next 16 balls garnered only 13 runs. But once she crossed that 50-run mark, she really went after the bowlers. Her last 13 balls yielded 34 runs for New Zealand. Coming to England's chase, it never really got going. Sophia Dunkley's brisk 26 at the top gave them early hope, but the required rate always kept ahead of them. It didn't help that each of their next 3 batters got off to starts, but got out just when it was time for them to switch a gear or two. Capsey, Maya Boucher and Heather Knight scored in excess of 20, but none of them did so at a strike rate above 115. Stealing 14 of the 17th over and needing 37 of the remaining 3, it seemed like Danny Gibson and Freya Kim might just chase the star. But Needy Kerr and Brie Lynn conceded only 13 runs of the next 2 overs to put paid to those plans. England finished on 156 for 6. New Zealand won by 14 runs, and the series tied 1-1. The third T20I happens today at the time of the recording. Let's see who takes home the series and some much needed winning momentum into the World Cup. Onto the Irish World Cup squad, Ireland are back at the Women's T20 World Cup after missing the 2024 edition. The 24-year-old Gabby Lewis is leading Ireland at the T20 World Cup for the very first time, and she has earned it. At the T20 World Cup Global Qualifier in Nepal earlier this year, Lewis was the leading run scorer with 276 runs across 7 matches. Without her batting, Ireland simply wouldn't have qualified. She heads into this tournament as one of their most important players. Her deputy is Orla Prendergast, one of the most exciting all-rounders in associate women's cricket. The experience score is intact. Outside of Gabby and Orla, the top 5 consist of Amy Hunter, Leah Paul and former skipper Laura Delaney. Each of them have featured in a World Cup. It's a bowling that could be a bit mercurial because of their lack of experience. 4 of their regular bowling options are Eva Canning, Alana Delzell, Amy Maguire and Lara McBride are playing their first ever World Cup. That's a significant turnover and also a sign that the Irish women's domestic setup is producing real talent. However, the owners will mainly rely on Orla Prendergast with the new ball and Arlene Kelly in the middle overs to help them with the wickets. The latter was also the second highest wicket taker at the global qualifier with 13 wickets in 7 innings. She'll spearhead the pace attack in English conditions where her skills will be well suited. One note on Gabby Lewis, she's carrying a leg injury and has been rested from the upcoming Tri-Series in Dublin against Pakistan and West Indies. Orla Prendergast will lead the side in her absence. Ireland are clearly managing Lewis carefully ahead of the World Cup. Ireland are in Group B alongside hosts England, defending champs New Zealand, West Indies, Sri Lanka and Scotland. Their opening game is against Scotland at the Old Trafford on June 13th. After that, they face England and New Zealand. No easy run, but Ireland's qualification campaign showed that they can handle pressure, and Gabby Lewis's batting showed she can handle any stage. This is a squad with heart, with history and with genuine reasons for optimism. So there we have it. England and New Zealand are level going into a decider at Hove. Sophie Devine is playing some of her best cricket in what is a farewell tour. And Ireland are back on the world stage with a captain who looks built for the big moments. The Women's T20 World Cup starts on the 12th of June. 18 days. I cannot wait. If you enjoyed this, please make sure you've hit the subscribe button. We cover women's cricket every single week. Drop a comment. Who's your pick to win the World Cup? And I'll see you in the next one.